Chapter 14, Reflection in the Mirror. The sterile, cold air of the hospital seemed to echo with a heaviness that Dr. Carrington's death had left behind. Russell Sr. stood in the corridor, his hands folded tightly in front of him as he stared down at the floor. It had been years since he had seen his son like this, on the edge of ruin. And even though Dr. Carrington's fall was tragic, there was something deeply unsettling about standing here now, in the aftermath of it all. The nurses and doctors had long moved on to their next duties, leaving Russell Sr. alone with his son's body. The faint hum of machines in the background felt distant, a stark contrast to the silence that hung in the air. He had known that this moment would come, perhaps not in this exact way, but somewhere deep inside, he had been preparing for it for years. His son's reckless path had led him to this point. As Russell Sr. made arrangements to claim his son's body, the phone rang, its shrill tone breaking the hush of the hospital room. He answered it with a curt, "Hello? Is this Russell Carrington Sr.?" The voice on the other end was sharp, with an air of authority. "Yes," Russell Sr. replied, still somewhat distracted by the sterile environment around him. "I'm Detective Harris from the Baltimore Police Department," the voice continued. "We received a call from a woman named Barbara Ann. She's claiming to be Dr. Carrington's wife and says she hasn't been notified of his death. Is that true?" The words hit Russell Sr. like a sudden wave. "Barbara Ann?" he repeated, disbelief creeping into his voice. "I didn't even know if they were still married. They were on and off for years." He paused, glancing down at his son's body. "I had no idea." Detective Harris's voice stayed calm, but confusion lingered. "She's very upset about not being informed. She says she has a right to know and that no one reached out to her. I just wanted to clarify, do you have any information about this?" Russell Sr. hesitated, the phone still clutched in his hand. "Look, I don't know what's going on here. My son has always been private about their marriage and their children, and I never asked about it." Detective Harris let out a soft sigh. "Understood, but it seems we need to resolve this situation. Mrs. Carrington is asking to see the body and make arrangements for burial, but we need to confirm her relationship to the deceased before proceeding." Standing in the hospital corridor, the weight of the moment felt heavier than ever. His son's life had been cut short in a violent, tragic way, and now a new chapter of confusion and chaos was unfolding. It wasn't just about the fallout from Dr. Carrington's actions anymore. It was about who had the right to make decisions on his behalf, who truly had the claim over his estate, his body, and his legacy. He didn't want to deal with any of it right now. His son's death had already taken too much from him. But the detective's words lingered. Barbara Ann. His son had never been forthcoming about the details of that marriage, but Russell Sr. had always suspected there were unresolved feelings between them. They had fought bitterly over the years, but had they ever truly separated, or had they just been putting on a facade for everyone, including him? A knot tightened in his stomach. He didn't want to be dragged into his son's tangled relationships, but now he had no choice. He stood in the hallway a moment longer, then decided to call his son's home. Though he had already notified Russell III of his father's passing, he needed more information. He needed to hear from his grandson, someone who had been close to Dr. Carrington, what the truth might be. When Russell III answered, his voice was hoarse, as though he'd been crying. "Granddad, what's going on? They told me Dad is gone." Closing his eyes, feeling the loss like a physical weight, Russell Sr. said, "Yes, son, he's gone. I'm here at the hospital, but there's something you need to know. Detective Harris from the police department called me. Barbara Ann says she's still your father's wife, and she's demanding to be informed about everything. I didn't know what to tell her." Silence stretched on the other end until Russell III spoke, frustration creeping into his tone. "Granddad, I don't know what to say. My dad never talked to me about Mrs. Barbara Ann. He kept it private. But I guess I should have known something was off. I never knew for sure whether they were together, but he kept me at a distance from her and the other kids. He didn't mention her after he started seeing other people." Russell Sr. sighed, the weight of the situation pressing down even harder. "What do you think we should do?" "I don't know, Grandpa," Russell III replied softly. "But if she says she's his wife, I guess we need to let her handle the funeral. Just Just make sure we're included. Dad might have made his mistakes, but we're his family. Russell Sr. nodded. I'll handle it. I'll make sure everything is taken care of. As the call ended, he stared down at his son's body once more. The path to closure now felt even more complicated than he had anticipated. It wasn't just a matter of Dr. Carrington's death. It was a matter of conflicting claims, unanswered questions, and the tangled web of relationships that had come to light. In the days to come, the legal battles would unfold, and the questions surrounding Dr. Carrington's legacy, who had the right to control his estate, his assets, and his final wishes, would continue to create a storm of uncertainty. Barbara Ann, despite her estrangement from Dr. Carrington, would fight for her place in his story, but that was a battle for another day. For now, Russell Sr. would make the arrangements, standing firm in the face of his son's demise, and, perhaps for the first time, confronting the deep, unspoken truths that had always lingered beneath the surface of the Carrington